Quran.
They were
We're
not meddling.
choosing, and we're choosing what's the right Quran, what's the wrong Quran,
No.
what's the right scripture,
No.
what's the
This
wrong
is where
scripture. Then it was
this is
not
where
done only
speculation
by
comes in. I was talking about
Muhammad.
earlier.
What speculation?
Yes, it is.
The book was not written by
The
Muhammad.
book
He
was
did not write
memorized.
the
Do I
book.
not understand?
Memorized.
Yes.
Very flawed.
Maybe your memory. Maybe your memory is flawed.
European man.
Okay?
He doesn't understand.
Something
What
which
does
is
it have to do with
tested.
me being European?
Listen, something which is tested multiple times. Multiple attestations.
Oh, is it Eurocentric? Why?
Because the overemphasis and reliance upon the written word is a Eurocentric kind of.
Writing something down is much more trustworthy.
Who told you that? I can change something that's
Again,
written.
you don't.
I can change
Pavlov.
something that's written.
Subjectivity is
Pablo,
No
Pablo.
subjectivity.
Question.
No, you're the one subjectivity.
Pavlov, question.
Because anything
Are
that
you
is written
familiar?
down can easily be altered.
Pavlov.
You don't know that. Imagine
Pavlov,
this.
question.
If something, wait, brother. Imagine this. If someone wrote a line, a statement, and in that statement they made a mistake, and this mistaken statement gets copied over multiple times.
Are we
How
really
can-
having
wait,
a discussion?
Yes.
What is more trustworthy, memorizing
not
or
about
writing
that.
Yes,
down?
we are.
Do you understand
Yes,
how
yes,
it's done?
because I just proved to you
The
that
Islamic
something that is
history
written
is
down can
not like
easily be
European.
Why
altered.
did
You get
humans
me?
write
It's
anything?
preserved.
Memorizing is better.
You don't put
They
it.
did both.
Do not.
This
What? They did both.
They did both.
No, but why writing?
Who told
Why
you?
write
Who
when
told you?
memorizing
Who
is
told you?
better?
You have no
That's why
evidence
they
other than
call
your
that to-
subjectivity.
Why
told
memorizing?
them.
when memorizing
Let me
is
tell you
better?
something. Let me tell you
This
something.
is better. I said they can both be.
You said it's more trustworthy.
No, it's more
Listen.
trustworthy. It's
You're
done on a
never
multiple
gonna get
attestation.
whitewashed.
Listen,
Get me?
let me
Hashim,
tell you
sorry,
something.
don't you-
Well, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's
I
fine.
wanted
Your
to
subjectivity.
say to you something, yeah? It's not just only what do you say? It's not just one person who's memorizing from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Multiple
We are
attestations.
talking about
Independent.
many people, independent people. They memorize from him and then they transfer it to the next generation. We're not talking about one individual or two or three. Now the thing is here in Islam, there is something called our prayer, the 5 daily prayer. Do you know what part of our prayer that we recite the Quran, which means it is being checked every single day, even in the salawat, which we pray loudly. We have Maghrib, which is the after the sunset. We have the Isha, the night one, and the Fajr, which we recite it even loudly. And the people behind the Imam, generally the very people behind the Imam, they are the one who's able to record and rectify the Imam, which means it is checked on a daily basis. It's not just it's just checked on a daily basis. So the people who are memorizing, the Quran, they have memorized it and they have checked it with each other. And then the next generation, they have checked it with each other. And that's how it flows. It didn't go to one person to, for example, to twist or to change. So it's not subjective to some person. That's why we say the consensus of the companion of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which means they get together and then they brought what they have memorized. And then they were checking each other. So that's why even the Quran, you cannot imagine, even the vowels, even to the smallest thing in the Quran. So that's why the Quran is not just only a history book. You understand? So don't compare.
It's not history at all.
No, it's not a history book.
It's not history at all.
I'm
I
not
agree
saying,
with that.
No, it has history.
agree more.
It has history, but it's not a history book. It has science, but it's not a science book. It has many things.
That's a good.
So my point is that the Quran was checked even in memorization along with the written one. And they were checking each other. That's how is it. Which means the people who are writing the Quran, they will check it with the memorized and the memorization. And the one who memorized, they will check it with the written one. It goes, vice versa. That's how is it. So it's not just only, you could say, oh, Uthman has banned the Quran. That means it's lost. Who told you this? That Uthman, he has banned the other masahif because of a few reasons. One of the reasons, some of them, he will, for example, he will write part of the Quran. He will not have all of it. And then the people, they will think, maybe people after they say, okay, this is the complete Quran. The other one is wrong. So Uthman, he made sure he brought all this council of the company, brought them, and he said to them, and he was part of them, and he brought the other company who are known by memorizing the Quran from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and not just that, and then they checked how it was written and how it was memorized, and then they brought all this. Then they got all what they have gathered from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the other ones, which is here, writing here, writing, for example, part of it. Or some of them they used to write on a skin, some of them they used to write on a bones or something like that, or on a wooden piece or something like that. So he made sure that to ban the other ones and keep this one, which he kept it for himself, and the authorized one by a committee. It's not one person. You understand? It's a committee. Those committee, every single person of them, he has approved approved by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he is trustworthy to convey the message of Quran. It's something greater than you even you could even, if you are there, it's something so great to the extent. That's why we believe the Quran is intact. Anyway, we'll wrap up this this conversation.
Let's
we have
wrap up.
we need to go.
You see this manuscript here? Pablo?
Did you understand that?
See this manuscript here?
Yeah.
This was carbon dated by the Oxford University from the time of Prophet
I hope you understood before you
So
got
we have
wrapped up.
written, this is unlike even the Bible. You know, from the Bible, from the Jesus to the 100 years, you'll not find a single manuscript.
I like how you say
we
even
have,
the Bible, as if the Bible is any trustworthy.
no, I'm telling you the other
As
counter.
if there's any trust to the Bible.
Well, it's whether trust or not, the important thing is about the preservation. Both the books, the Bible and the Quran,
Claims to be
the
preserved.
people who actually believe in them, they claim that it's from God. So I'm telling you that the Quran, unlike the Old Testament and the New Testament, have something from the person to whom it was revealed within a few decades. Forget about a few hundred years. Within a few decades of his time. Now listen to this. A book like the Old Testament, between Moses and the earliest extant manuscript, you have like 1,000 to 1,100 years gap. And between Jesus and the earliest extant manuscript of the
What you say now,
Bible, you're talking about more than 100
It's not always about shouting. It's all
and even
about,
that,
you know,
the early
calm,
ones are just
patience.
fragments. Here we are talking about the entire Quran in the Topkapi Museum manuscript.
And in
itself.
Sana'a, Yemen.
You're
In
talking,
Sana'a, Yemen,
and, yeah,
and
and the
Egypt.
Sana'a manuscript.
In Sana'a, Yemen.
Okay, you gave me lots of information.
Yeah.
So go on, check.
How does this in any way contradict what I told you?
It contradicts in
contradicts
in
the
one way,
medicine.
because you are saying that the best way of preservation is written. If history cannot be certain because it's written either by victors, it can be manipulated, it can be fabricated, and it can even be correct in certain cases. But I want you, now this is for you, because I've given the reason why I believe the Quran and the Hadith, yes, the Sahih Hadith, are accurate and cannot be altered based on the stringent science of collection of the Hadith and the stringent science of collection and preservation of the Quran. I want you to give me any example from history where there's independent attestation and it can be fabricated. Go on.
You have such a ridiculous lack of self-awareness. You claim that history is not certain because it's written by people and it's distorted by the victor.
Is that what I said?
But yes, it's
Is that what I
exactly what
said?
you said. It's exactly what
I
you
said
said.
that I'm
History
very-
is written by the victor
talking
and thus
about your
it is
own history.
distorted.
Was that the only thing I
It's
said?
distorted. That's one of the things that you said.
And I also said
So
it can be
let-
accurate,
let me
remember?
speak.
love
Hashim,
you
you're
guys.
You're misquoting me
You're not
now.
wrapping up now.
You're misquoting. Okay,
Listen,
anyways.
Hashim, you're the one who's
Anyway,
getting triggered. aren't you?
answer my question
You are
next
very
time if
triggered
you have
by
an
that.
answer. Otherwise, we leave it there. Because I said history can be fabricated, it can be
can.
changed,
It
it's written
can.
by victors, and it's also
can.
accurate. But he only picked up on one of those points, and that is very, very insincere of
It's
you.
not absolutely accurate. There is a possibility that parts of history are not exactly what happened.
what form is
That's what I said.
That is why we need
That's
to
exactly what I said.
different sources. That is why I told you the book that I quoted to you recites the Muslim scholars and the Christian scholars, and it tries to kind of put them together. What was actually relatively possible to happen.
Who is that person? Do you know?
Okay, the book that I
Not the
told
book,
you.
the author. Do you know the author?
I didn't write down the author.
No, you don't
the
have
book is
to-
called In God's Path.
Yeah, but if you
It's
don't know
about
the
Islamic,
author,
the Islamic conquest.
Wow.
then
I don't,
if
I
you don't know the
remember-
author, then I can
don't
only say
remember
that
the
look.
author. Well, am I obligated to know the author? I know the title.
You know,
that's
I'm not
enough.
saying what you're obligated, what you're not obligated. What I'm saying is that when you
Guys, come on.
when you read
come on.
when you read a book, at
Nitpicking
least you should
us,
know if the author is
nitpicking.
reliable. Okay? If the
have to
author is
look
not
at the
reliable,
author.
he's not someone who's a professional in understanding the the preservation of the Quran or preservation of the Bible. If he's talking about that, then he's not someone who's professional.
Okay.
Okay? But if he's, but like I said,
David Yellow is the author.
okay. What is he? What's his qualification?
I have no idea.
Okay, because you know there are people like Jay Smith. He's saying he's a what do you say? He's an expert in Islam.
Yeah.
So people claim many things, but unless we see the credentials, there's no way to know
This
these
is the
things.
Scotsman fallacy. Every time somebody
did you say, Scotsman
puts you
fallacy?
in front of a fact that you don't like, you will say that's not real Islam.
But
That's
for
not real Islamic history. That's whitewashing. That is.
I gave the
that
example
is-
about Jay Smith.
That
He's
is
not-
the Scotsman fallacy.
No, it's not
Every
a
time you don't
no,
like
no,
the
no,
fact,
it's not
you
a-
say that's
going
not a real fact.
In the case of J. Smith, it's not a Scotsman fallacy because he doesn't have a qualification.
I'm not talking about J. Smith.
But I was. When you made the
But you're
statement,
doubting the
Scotsman
veracity
fallacy.
of the Poland.
Sorry?
You get me?
What I'm saying is that if I have knowledge about the author and if I know his qualification, then we can actually say yes, what he has written is something worth looking at.
Okay,
but
so
if
qualification is what matters.
Can I
for you.
finish? Can I finish? If someone like J. Smith comes and tells me I'm an expert on Islam and the guy's got 0 degrees in Islam, then how can I trust him? It's got nothing to do with the Scotsman fallacy, which you incorrectly brought in. But what I said,
agree more.
What I said was this: with regards to history, I gave you at least four different ways how it can be manipulated,
Pavlov,
and
be
one of those
sincere, man.
four
Be sincere.
was
I
other
couldn't
than
agree more.
and one of those
No,
four.
I am being sincere.
Be sincere,
One of
man.
those four was that it can also be accurate, but you only unfortunately picked up on one of those criteria.
I hope you won't deny what you just said.
Okay.
Because the part that if you don't have a degree in something, you cannot really talk about it. If you don't study something, you cannot really talk about it too much. Now, based on that, why would you believe Muhammad who was illiterate?
Okay, first and foremost, what does
Why
illiterate
would
mean?
you? Illiterate means somebody who doesn't know how to write.
Someone
and to read.
who cannot write, can he memorize and speak things?
You are missing my point.
Answer. Just
You-
answer
you-
the
Can you answer the
question.
question?
No, calm down. bro,
Just
calm down.
answer him.
Yeah.
Listen, you told me that the more studies, the more knowledge somebody amasses, the more trustworthy they are. I could not agree more.
Yes.
Now, if that is the main point why you qualify knowledge, why do you trust Muhammad, who had no knowledge whatsoever?
Coming from an agnostic, that's a good question.
Okay, there you go.
It's a good question. Yes? Do you believe in messengers getting revelation from God?
Possibly at least.
No, because you're not sure if God
You are
exists.
agnostic. You should say possibly.
Good. Now, that is the difference between someone who claims to have prophecy, someone who claims to be a
Gnostics are
messenger,
waiting for
and
that
getting
God.
revelation. You know the difference between
waiting
someone
for
who is
that
a layman
They-
or someone who is even
agnostic,
educated,
they
yes,
believe in
and someone who
God,
claims to
but
be a
they don't
messenger. We
follow
don't
any
equate
religion.
them all together.
That
The
means
same.
with Dajjal
So
comes,
a
they
messenger,
believe
we
in
test
Dajjal.
them for the prophecies.
Most
We test
likely,
them
yes.
based on the miracles that God has
good
provided them.
point.
We don't just accept just because he claims to be a prophet of God. We
Grey,
accept him as a prophet of God.
Then the
God has
grey.
given
You
us
come with
the
unusual points.
ability and the
They-
criteria
they-
how to
they-
identify
they-
true and false prophets. And this goes in all the Abrahamic faiths.
Okay.
We have this criteria. So does that answer your question?
Okay, so
It's
the
got
people
nothing to
are
do
the
with literacy.
ones who choose
Yeah.
who speaks for God and who's just illiterate.
So who God, it doesn't matter if
And the people are trustworthy in
No,
that
no, it's
choice.
not about
In the
illiterate.
choice whether we can trust an illiterate
Hashim,
person
is
from the
everything
desert,
that-
or we cannot trust the illiterate
Listen,
person from the
listen.
desert.
I think you did not either listen to me or you did
I
not
did
understand
listen
what
to
I
you.
said.
I did
So
listen to
if
you,
a
but the
prophet-
problem is that I do not trust when a person tells me he's the messenger.
Paulo, listen to this. If
That's not enough
something,
for me.
if someone does a miracle in front of you, yes, which you cannot even accept or understand scientifically. For example, in the case of Moses, he split the Red Sea. Maybe you don't believe that to be historical fact, but the
not
thing is that
quite.
if you had seen it with your own eyes, would you believe
Why
it?
don't you believe in
Stand
the
by
Iliad?
Faraj.
Or Iliad?
In the
It
Iliad.
says stand by.
No, you
Yeah,
gave me.
I know, but what
The
about
Odyssey
Iliad?
is another thing. The Odyssey is different. To the Iliad.
What about the Iliad?
The Iliad, the Trojan War, the Iliad, right?
What about that?
Let's talk about it. It's about Greek mythology, how the Greek gods came from the skies and helped the Greeks win the war against the Trojans. Some gods were supporting the Trojans,
Do you believe
some
that?
gods were defending the Greeks. I did read it in very big detail.
Do you believe that, man? That's what
Do I believe it? No, of course not.
Okay.
It's,
So you're
it's
asking-
a story for children,
So
basically.
you're asking me why I don't believe it?
Why do you
Should I tell you why?
believe in the Quran and you don't believe in the Iliad?
First and foremost, we were talking about the Prophet Muhammad being unlettered, and why I don't believe. I don't know how you jump to the Iliad. It's got no connection.
Because it's mythology, just like the
no.
Quran.
The Quran is not the mythology. A mythology is something like the Greek mythologies, where you have multiple gods telling you different things, and they fight each other to win. In the case of Islam, if you believe in a what do you say? In a polytheism, that itself is contrary to the belief in one God. And do you know why? Allah gives us a reason in the Quran itself that if you have two mighty beings, both of them claiming to be God, then who is the most powerful? Who is going to have the upper hand or the say as the last say? Say for example, one God said, I want sunset now. And the other God who's equally powerful says, no, I want sunrise now. What will happen? Clearly they'll have a clash. And that is exactly what happened in the Hindu mythology, where the gods fought each other, and the Greek mythology, where the gods fought each other. And that is the reason I don't believe in the Iliad. Does that answer your question?
So you don't believe in the Iliad while believing in the Quran?
Yes.
Just because the Quran has one God instead
Yes.
of having
Yes.
many?
So it's
That's
not
the
only,
only
no,
reason.
that's not the only reason.
Okay.
That's not the, I
And
can give
why
you,
are you not a Jew?
I can
And
give
the
you,
prophecy
I
of
can give you
Prophet
many other
Muhammad
reasons.
sallallahu
I can give you many other reasons. By the way, A Jew,
to have a lot
by
of
the way,
in common
You know,
a Jew,
sincere,
a Jew
man.
by definition is someone who
Relax
believes in
yourself,
one
man.
God already.
Listen.
Yes, a Jew by definition doesn't believe in Jesus
Relax
as
yourself.
a
Listen,
Messiah
man. Calm down.
and Prophet
I can't
Muhammad.
hear you over the balaclava. Could you take it off, please?
Okay.
Don't worry about my face.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I don't worry, I just can't hear you.
Okay,
To be
so
sincere, you get
Prophet
me?
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even Jesus and even Moses, all of them, they had the test of prophethood in terms of the message, in terms of the, and they were all given this special, favor by God of doing miracles to prove to people like you, yes, and specifically like you, I'm saying the reason those who are hyper skeptical, yes, and it is something which we find in many other people, that they will be skeptical. In fact, I will be skeptical if somebody comes and tells me that I'm a prophet or someone being elected by God, because a prophet is someone who's chosen by God to do things for him. He himself will not believe it first. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, when he got the first revelation, he was reluctant that no, I don't want this, I don't want a part of this, because this is something that is very, very difficult. Even Prophet Moses, you know, all the prophets, they had a lot of tests before they were chosen to be someone who represents God. And these people
is dying,
themselves
man.
were just like you are being skeptical.
Let's have some
themselves,
white wisdom,
skeptical
words of
about
wisdom
their
from
own
you.
self.
That you're
Maybe,
adding?
I'm listening to
Top
things,
up?
I'm hearing things.
Okay.
Some of them said, no, maybe I'm listening to something.
I'm young for it.
They themselves were questioning
You're
it.
waiting to go in the right time,
Your
innit?
sanity before you trust what God tells you to.
Well, I think you should question your
Hashim
sanity
took
if
it
you
all,
think it
it's
came
fine.
from nowhere.
Okay, so if you think that it came from God, you shouldn't question it. You should just
No,
do
I'm
what
saying
God
once
tells you.
once you have
The full video is
established
going to be on SD
oneness
now.
of God
Sundown,
and
yeah?
belief in
Sundown.
God, then
Sundown,
things
full
fall
video.
in place
This
very
one.
nicely about the universe and everything. But you,
Absolute
trust me,
subject.
if you're
Grey
not going to
Dunya,
believe
that's
in God, until you go to your
I'll post it
grave,
for
you'll be
blackdunya.
happy.